Eskom is urging customers to use electricity sparingly as parts of the country experience a severe cold front. Strong cold winds are expected in Gauteng, while the Western Cape braces for rain. Eskom spokesperson Sikonathi Mantshantsha joins us now for an update on the state of the power grid. Sikonathi, load shedding this evening, yes or no?
There's a high possibility, Thulasizwe, that there might be load shedding because the system is severely constrained. We have had a few machines breaking down. We are working very hard to return them to service, but we are urging the people of South Africa to help reduce demand in order to stave off the possibility of load shedding.
So when you and I were speaking just 24 hours ago, you were standing at a shortage of some 1,500 megawatts, and it had to do with, I think if I remember correctly, breakdowns at Kendal and at Tutuga power station as power stations, and you had managed to restore what you had lost at Kusile, I think, or Midupi, one of the new stations. Yes, Midupi. Where do we stand now in terms of returning that capacity, or have you gone on to lose more capacity?
Yes, we have lost 2 additional units, one at Duva Power Station and another one at Tutuga. So with that's where we are now, and Litabo Power Station. We are working very hard to try to restore these and avoid load shedding. But yes, that is where we are at the moment. It's not yet to that there will be load shedding, but this is also part of an attempt to make sure that we avoid that possibility.
So where do we stand in terms of the figures? Because the sad reality of what has happened in the last few years is that it has sort of taught us the basics of what the capacity normally is in terms of megawatts, and what a loss of a certain percentage means in terms of the level of load shedding we can expect.
At this point, Thulasizwe, we've got total capacity available and serving of about just over 32,000 megawatts. Losses currently in the last 24 hours stand at about 2,800 megawatts, and that is what has tipped us to this situation.
So, Sikonathi, you are downplaying this situation, are you not? 2,800 megawatts, my understanding that would place us in the ballpark region of level 3 load shedding.
There's absolutely no gain for anyone in downplaying the situation. What we are at this point is we are at just over 32,000 megawatts of capacity. As we spoke again yesterday, it's quite cold and the demand has risen. That's where we are. We have not gotten to a stage where we are discussing what stage of load shedding it would have been or it would be, and we have not declared as yet load shedding. We are informing the people that it is highly possible that we may get to load shedding. When it is certain that we will indeed again come out and tell the people of South Africa, just as we are doing now. Nobody stands to gain anything by downplaying this.
Sure. So we've talked about the issue of maintenance, Sikonathi, and yesterday you mentioned that part of the challenge is you're working here with old, machinery that invariably will break down. But you also had another intervention that was meant to bring in new spare capacity, right? Accepting that the machines you're dealing with at these power stations are old, and no matter how much you maintain them, some of them are likely to break down. You should be able by now to tell us how far you are by way of procuring this additional capacity, which will help in instances where these old machines break down.
As you know, the Department of Minerals and Energy Resources last year in December requested private investors to come in and offer capacity. We have not yet found a decision on that, and that is a process that the Department of Mineral Resources is processing. We are not at the stage where we have new capacity. We are only working with what we have had in all of these years, which, as you correctly pointed out, is unreliable. We do not have any new capacity that we did not have last year or early this year.
Yeah, so in a way I have to be fair to you and say if that then resides with the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, they're the ones who should be telling us how far they've come. I mean, because that was promised late last year that there would be additional capacity. That does pose a problem for you, doesn't it, that you don't have this additional capacity?
So, Eskom last year in December came out to the people of South Africa. If you remember, during that meeting where Cyril Ramaphosa had to fly back from Egypt, and the decision at that point was to request an additional 5,000 megawatts of capacity, because that's what Eskom said it needed. So in terms of the law, that process is indeed lies with the Minerals and Energy Department. Yeah. Eskom is the implementing agent of the department. Yeah. Once the department is through with that process, it will hand over the capacity over to Eskom.
All right. Thank you for that clarity there. Sikonathi Mantshantsha speaks on behalf of Eskom.